Traveling to Europe has always been a dream for many, especially for Americans. From the stunning streets of Paris to the ancient ruins of Rome, Europe has offered endless adventures. But now, in 2025, the landscape is shifting. As more American tourists plan their trips, several European countries are taking steps to limit the number of visitors from the U.S. But what's causing this sudden change? Is it politics, overcrowding, or something more? Let's take a closer look at the first country on the list, and you'll see exactly what's going on. Number 1, Spain. First up is Spain. Known for its flamenco dancing, delicious tapas, and stunning beaches, Spain has been a top destination for Americans for years. But in 2025, Spain is taking significant steps to reduce the number of American visitors. The reason: overcrowding and environmental concerns. Cities like Barcelona and Madrid have seen a surge in American tourists, putting pressure on local infrastructure and contributing to rising living costs for locals. Spain is now focusing on sustainable tourism, introducing higher taxes on tourist services and limiting access to certain regions. Local residents have expressed frustration over the overwhelming number of visitors, particularly in popular areas like the Mediterranean coast. In response, the Spanish government is implementing new regulations to ensure that tourism doesn't outpace the country's ability to protect its heritage sites, natural resources, and quality of life for its citizens. For example, Barcelona's historic district has introduced restrictions on short-term rentals, aiming to keep the city from being overtaken by tourists. Number 2, France. Next, we have France. From the art-filled halls of the Louvre to the romantic ambiance of Parisian cafes, France has always been an essential stop for American travelers. But in 2025, the French government is tightening its grip on tourism. With an influx of American visitors contributing to the saturation of popular cities and regions, France has decided to limit the number of visitors in certain areas. Cities like Paris and regions such as Provence have seen dramatic increases in tourist numbers, leading to overcrowded attractions and rising local prices. In response, the government has implemented higher taxes on tourism-related services like hotels and restaurants, particularly in areas that are heavily trafficked by American tourists. The goal is to preserve the authenticity of the French experience, keeping the charm of quaint villages and hidden gems intact, while also addressing the environmental footprint left by mass tourism. For example, the French Riviera has now placed limits on the number of yachts allowed in its harbors, aiming to prevent the region from being overrun by luxury tourism. Number 3, Italy. Italy is another country that has long been a favorite of American tourists. With its rich history, world-class cuisine, and beautiful countryside, Italy has something for every traveler. However, in 2025, Italy is taking a hard look at how many Americans are visiting and what impact it's having. Overcrowding in cities like Rome, Florence, and Venice has become a major issue, and the Italian government is taking action. The government is enforcing new regulations, such as increased entry fees to historical sites, limiting access to some of the country's most visited tourist attractions, and enforcing stricter visa requirements for American visitors. Italy's tourism strategy is shifting toward sustainability, emphasizing the need for a more balanced approach to tourism that protects both the environment and local communities. With the ancient city of Pompeii already facing significant wear and tear from the growing number of tourists, Italy is doubling down on preserving its heritage while curbing the environmental impact of mass tourism. Number 4, Germany. Germany, home to rich history and stunning architecture, has always attracted Americans with its mix of urban culture and natural beauty. But in 2025, Germany is introducing policies that reduce the number of American tourists, particularly in popular cities like Berlin and Munich. Germany has seen an explosion in tourist numbers over the past few years, and with the rising demand, local communities have started to feel the strain. The government is responding by enforcing stricter visa policies, hiking tourism taxes, and introducing caps on the number of visitors allowed to enter certain regions. German authorities are focusing on balancing tourism with preserving the unique cultural experiences the country offers. Regions like Bavaria, known for their picturesque castles and natural beauty, are now implementing green tourism initiatives, encouraging travelers to explore more remote and less visited destinations. Number 5. Netherlands. The Netherlands, famous for its canals, tulips, and liberal culture, has seen an increasing number of American tourists visiting cities like Amsterdam. But in 2025, the Dutch government is implementing stricter regulations to limit tourism in the country. The number of visitors to Amsterdam, in particular, has exploded in recent years, leading to rising rent prices, congestion, and cultural erosion in some of the city's most cherished areas. The Dutch government is focusing on promoting sustainable tourism by restricting the number of tourists in major cities and introducing higher taxes on tourist-related services. It's also encouraging travelers to visit less popular destinations, ensuring that the benefits of tourism are more evenly spread throughout the country. Amsterdam has been a prime example of how tourism can negatively impact a city's atmosphere, especially when it overtakes local life. Number 6. Switzerland. Switzerland, with its picturesque alpine landscapes and pristine lakes, has long been a paradise for travelers. But in 2025, the country is responding to the pressures of mass tourism with new restrictions. The government has introduced higher entry fees to national parks and is limiting the number of American visitors in regions like the Swiss Alps. Local communities have voiced concerns over the strain that large numbers of tourists are placing on both the environment and the infrastructure. To address these concerns, Switzerland is embracing a low-impact tourism approach, which includes requiring tourists to book visits to certain areas in advance and placing limits on group sizes for popular attractions like the Matterhorn. These measures are intended to preserve Switzerland's natural beauty, while ensuring that tourism remains manageable and sustainable. Number 7. Norway. Norway, known for its dramatic fjords, tranquil lakes, and rugged mountains, is also scaling back on tourism. In 2025, Norway is reducing the number of American visitors allowed to enter, particularly in its most remote and pristine natural areas. The country has seen a boom in ecotourism, but with this growth comes a growing responsibility to protect its fragile ecosystems. The government is implementing stricter entry requirements for American travelers and is encouraging tourists to explore less visited destinations, reducing the impact on popular spots like the Lofoten Islands and Geiranger Fjord. Norway's commitment to environmental sustainability is reflected in its tourism policies, which aim to keep the country's pristine beauty intact for future generations. Number 8. Greece. Greece, with its iconic islands, ancient ruins, and Mediterranean charm, has been a popular destination for American tourists for decades. But in 2025, Greece is making changes to protect its unique landscapes and culture. The government is imposing restrictions on tourism in its most popular regions, including the islands of Santorini and Mykonos, which have become overcrowded with American visitors. To combat this, Greece is raising tourism taxes and implementing limits on the number of visitors allowed in certain areas. These changes are designed to prevent damage to Greece's fragile environment, protect its historical sites, and maintain the quality of life for local communities. By encouraging tourists to visit less crowded islands, Greece hopes to distribute the benefits of tourism more evenly throughout the country. Number 9. Sweden. Sweden, known for its stunning landscapes and progressive policies, is also taking action to limit the number of American visitors. In 2025, the Swedish government is implementing stricter visa requirements, particularly for cities like Stockholm and Gothenburg. Sweden's tourism growth has been rapid, but it has led to overcrowding, particularly in the summer months. Local communities and environmental groups have raised concerns about the impact of mass tourism on Sweden's natural resources and infrastructure. In response, Sweden is rolling out policies that include higher taxes on tourism services, caps on visitor numbers, and incentives for travelers to visit off-the-beaten-path destinations. By spreading out the flow of visitors and promoting ecotourism, Sweden aims to preserve its natural beauty and high quality of life for its citizens. Number 10. Iceland. And finally, Iceland. Known for its dramatic volcanic landscapes, geothermal hot springs, and the breathtaking northern lights, Iceland has become one of the most sought-after travel destinations for Americans. But in 2025, the country is taking a more drastic approach to tourism management. Iceland is introducing higher entry fees to its popular attractions and implementing stricter regulations on the number of American tourists allowed to visit. The country's natural beauty is fragile, and with the surge in visitors, Iceland's environment is under threat. The government is responding by focusing on sustainable tourism practices, encouraging travelers to visit less crowded areas and limiting access to its most popular spots, such as the Blue Lagoon and the Golden Circle.